Hello, everyone. We're just giving you a few more minutes to join the webinar, and we'll be back in just a few minutes to get started.
Time to breathe. To breathe? Does it say that?
Is your sound on?
Hello, everybody. Thank you for joining. This is Rick Greenfield, and Maureen will be getting started here in just a few more moments. We're going to wait for a few more people to join. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. This is Marina Martinez, and I'm here with Michelle Stevens. She is our marketing team lead here at Image Bloom. We also have Rick Greenfield, our COO of Image Bloom. And today we're going to be talking about how to tell your site story and get people to listen. So thank you so much for everyone for joining us today. This is webinar 5 of our series, Clinical Research Java. So please sit back, take some notes, and grab some coffee if you can. So we'll go ahead and get started. So our objectives today are just to understand the importance of your story, being able to identify your site story, and being able to understand how to tell your site story. So we're going to cover all of these today. And just make sure you just jot down your questions for the end. We'll be answering those as soon as we're done going through the slides here. So our first poll question today is going to be something a little bit fun. Hand on heart, are you wearing PJs right now? We'll give you just a few seconds to answer. Okay, so it looks like there's a few mixed responses here. That's good to see. For you who have taken them off a minute ago, congratulations. I'm glad you all are able to enjoy something a little bit more comfortable. And just really glad that hope everyone's staying safe right now during this time. I know it's been a little bit difficult with everything going on. So yeah, let's get into it. So today we're just going to be talking about why is your story important? How can you benefit from telling your story? We're gonna answer some of those questions today. So telling a good story is gonna make your site stand out above the rest. There are hundreds, even thousands of sites just like you across the nation, internationally. And having a great story is just gonna help you differentiate yourself in the sea of clinical researchers. It's also gonna help you build a good reputation. So depending on your audience, this can be sponsors, CROs, even patients. Having a good story is really going to help build that in the eyes of your audience, whoever that may be. A good story is a reflection of your company, so that should be adapted at the organizational level. It's who your audience sees you as and how you represent yourself as a site. A story is going to tell your motivation as clinical researchers. Why do you get up every morning? Why is it that you are in this industry, and why is it that you're doing what you do? So here's another question, a serious question this time. Are you transparent about your site story? Yes, no, sometimes? We'll give you all a few seconds just to answer that. Okay, so about 40% of y'all answered yes. 50% said sometimes could be better, so that's a good ratio right there. 10% said no. So, well, that's a good gauge of where you're at. We're going to go ahead and talk about how you can be transparent a little bit more and how you can really tell your story while being a professional business. This is the organizational story. So establishing culture and company values is going to be really crucial for any organization. It doesn't matter what industry you're in. This is going to be the heartbeat of your site. It's going to be the reason why you do what you do. Establishing a culture is going to create a personality. It establishes the place where your employees work. It's going to resonate within your staff. And it's just important to hold true to that every day. Create a healthy environment that's really fun for your employees, that brings people together. It's something that you can be proud of. Your core values is also really crucial to the organizational story. It's a set of beliefs that you can rely on. And this is something that resonates with your day-to-day work life. You can use them to point you in the right direction when you're making any sort of business decisions. This is your message, and your story should exemplify your core values and your culture. This is the people story. So behind every site, we know that there are people that work hard every day. They come into work every day. They work 9 to 5, 9 to 5 a week, 40 hours a week, maybe even more than that. And the people who work hard, it's really important just to highlight these people and showcase them, because it's important to bring that human element into your business and into your story. So we've noticed that real people, real posts about people get the most engagement, and people are going to take notice of these messages. Even like, it's more than a stock photo. It's going to be more than just a photo that you pull off the internet. These are real experiences. So staff interviews are a good way to highlight your people story. Birthdays are a good way to highlight, just give back that personality into your site and tell your workers that you appreciate them on their day. Achievements are also a really great way to highlight your employees and highlight their promotions as their careers advance. This can help really humanize you as a site. This is the journey story. So this story is going to be something that you work on as a site. It's going to allow you to be transparent with your audience. So the first thing that I wanted to highlight is just that case studies are a really good way to showcase how you've overcome certain study challenges. This can include various metrics and results on a few studies that you conducted. White papers are also a really great way to provide your insight on industry topics. This can be something that you've experienced firsthand, maybe something that one of your PIs would want to elaborate on, something that they've experienced and have that firsthand knowledge on. If you have several studies you've been successful with, a trial pipeline would be really good to display on your website. So that's one of the things that I would recommend, just helping build that transparency with you and your audience. Also, press releases are a really good way to create that showcase that maybe you have some upcoming trials that you are excited for, something that you're maybe like a new company location that you're opening, anything that you can really be proud of and showcase that on your website or online. That can really help build your journey story.
Well, Maureen, if you don't mind me jumping in, I just also wanted to, first of all, say you brought some great points up related to the humanization of your story. And I think that one key element that you might notice is different about your story is that it's not your professional advertising, marketing, and branding campaign. This is actually you talking about who you are. And those individualized, humanized stories get more engagement and more attention oftentimes, and really help people identify with what you believe in and what you accomplish as a site. Now, these two things should not be done independently. I think that having a human story is important, having a professional story is important as well. And again, the two actually very much complement each other. So in that previous slide, you were talking about press releases. You were also talking about highlighting employees and staff when they accomplish milestones. Those are the kinds of things that really bring even more exposure to your professional messaging of who you are and what you're accomplishing within the industry.
Absolutely. Thank you, Rick. Thank you for that insight. And it holds true at the professional level and just humanizing your business, because that's what we are. We're in a business. So I think that's a really great point that you make there. Just to add on to that, the journey story doesn't always have to be about trial successes. It's an opportunity for you to highlight other areas, like perhaps some awards that you've won, maybe best places to work. Diversity inclusion awards are another one that we've seen. If you're attending a local health fair, that's also something that you would really just want to share with your audience. And also community volunteering. I think that's something that is not really shared as often as it should, but also a really good addition to the journey story. So our next poll question is going to be, which outlets are you using currently to tell your story? We'll give you a few seconds to answer that. Okay. So we have 9% that answered social media, 27 answered your website, 9% answered email, 45% all of the above, and 9% all of the above. So it's good to see that there's 45% of you that answered all of the above. That's a good mix to have. And then the 9% of you that answered none of the above, we could, definitely go through and talk about more of those outlets and see how you could adapt those into your storytelling.
Well, and I think there's really not a wrong answer here except for the none of the above. The best answer is all of the above, of course. And I think when it comes to your storytelling, your messaging, the more places you can put those stories and drive traffic to your website or to exemplify who you are, the better. Some channels work better than others, of course, depending on where you're wanting that message to get to. So whether it's a B2B or B2C, but obviously not getting your message out there is the one thing we definitely don't recommend. Mm-hmm. And essentially our goal today is to really exemplify the value of that human story and your site's message and to get it on as many channels as possible.
Absolutely. So we're just going to be going over several ways that you can tell your story. There are plenty of ways that you can get your story across to all parties. This can include social media, your website, email, blogging, and press releases. These are just a few examples we put together on how to tell your story on social media. So you can see Matt here is a very hard worker. He comes into work every single day with a smile on his face. So I'm sure you have workers exactly like that at your site. And it would be a great way to just showcase your employees and let them know that you care, that you're still human. And getting a simple picture like that on social media can get great engagement. It also just helps you bring in that human element that you may not always see online. There's also providing relevant content on your website that can maybe put across that more professionalism. For example, I put together this post that's kind of going over your trial success. So this clinical research site met 100% enrollment goal. That's another way that you can tell your story on social media while still being professional.
Well, and that's awesome, Marina. Keep it there if you don't mind, because, well, if you don't mind going back really quick, I just wanted to point out that when you're scrolling through your news feed on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, you have all these companies putting all these messages. Typically, they're professional graphics, a lot of stock photos. The picture of the funny guy sitting at his desk and we're saying happy birthday, Matt, that's probably the one image that you're going to see over and above all the other images that you're going to see today. And I think it's, quote unquote, the cheesiness of these posts. But obviously it was taken on a phone probably. It's not a professionally produced thing. It's the real world. It's the world we live in. And it makes a difference. And it's actually seen so much more. So, putting the time and effort into, again, I love the word you used, Marina, for humanizing your site, bringing the human element into it, and people really getting to see what's going on with your staff and getting to know these people. It can have such an amazing impact.
Yeah, definitely agree.
I think I want to get to know Matt, actually.
He seems like a fun guy. So just going on to how to tell your story online, this can be on your website, just showcasing your culture and core values, your mission statement. This is an opportunity for you to build that, and your website is a great way for you to showcase these important elements to your story. I know we mentioned earlier that blogs and press releases were also an important element. So I think just being relevant about what you put out there is super important. For example, this is one of a research site that was discussing their new endometriosis study. So we decided to put together a press release, just kind of showcasing that, you know, a lot of women are impacted by this condition and there are other options out there for them. So sticking to something that's really relevant to anything that's going on at your site. It doesn't even have to be a trial. Like I said, any sort of accomplishments are a really great way to showcase that. And here's just a blog that we wrote about the coronavirus and Parkinson's disease. Again, something that's relevant to what's going on in today's world. It's a reality. And these are just a few tips that we put together for you. So just things to keep in mind when you are putting together content for your storytelling. Just be professional about what you put out there. No one's gonna want to hear about your personal issues, your plumbing issues, anything like that. So keep it as professional as you can. Set goals for yourself. This is always a good way to establish your goals in the future, your goals for your company, and really just give you a good idea of what you want to do and how you want to tell your story. Know your audience. This can help you create content that is relevant to your viewers. This can be sponsors, CROs, or even your patients, using platforms that are relevant to your audience. For example, LinkedIn is a good B2B platform to use. Facebook, Instagram may be a better platform to use to get that message to your patients. So just knowing who your audience is and keeping that in mind when you are putting together your story. Being consistent and investing time is also something that I really want to just put a point across, because that is going to take time to put together the content and put together the strategy that you want to put out there to your audience. So it is going to take time. It is going to take a lot of effort, but I promise you that the results, that the outcome is going to be really worth it in the end. And also just delegating your storytelling to someone at your site. It doesn't have to be, you know, the best marketer, the best social media person that you've met, but someone that's going to take time to build that for you and get your message across. I think that's really crucial to storytelling.
Well, I'm going to jump in on that too, Marina, because I think that this is such an important point to storytelling. It does take time. And I find, I have two almost questions here, but I mean, I know for me, when I go to conferences, and maybe some of you can relate, when I'm on the plane and I'm headed to the conference, I'm thinking about, I really want to document this. I want to take pictures. I want to post on social media. But then once I get there, I completely forget to do it. I get caught up in the moment. I'm talking to people and it doesn't happen. And so I think that's where delegating, making sure that someone on your team, that's something they're in charge of. They're there to document and get pictures for this. So I think that understanding that the time element is a real key element here. Even for many of the clients that we manage, we have trouble getting them to provide us with pictures, in-office pictures while they're out at health fairs or conferences. So just to understand, one, that this is a really important thing, and two, it does take time, and it's probably something you should consider delegating. And Marina, I like what you said. They don't have to be professionals. In fact, I think the less professional, the better a lot of times. And so I had another point, and it's flew away from me for some reason. But just to fully exemplify the fact that you're going to have to put some time and effort into telling this story.
Absolutely. Yeah, I definitely agree with you, Rick. It is going to take a lot of effort and time to put into this, and we know that a lot of research sites maybe don't have the capabilities to delegate that role to someone. So we did just want to.
Well, and I remember my question.
Okay.
So my question was, how many of you can think of a company that does a great job of this? And we were talking about this yesterday, preparing for this webinar. And literally off the top of my head, I can think of 3 or 5 companies right now that do a great job of storytelling. And yes, they have professional ads. And of course, you have all these other companies out there putting the professional ads out. But there's the ones that are doing a good job of storytelling are the ones that come to my mind immediately when I think about those companies. So again, exemplifying just how much of a difference storytelling can make over and above having a professional messaging strategy.
All right, thank you, Rick. So we, mentioned before that there may not be someone on your team that is capable of putting together the content that you need, or maybe you don't have the time or resources to put into storytelling. So another option to consider is outsourcing. Image Bloom does provide packages that can do your storytelling for you. So we do have social media management, that's B2B or B2C marketing. So whether you're trying to reach your patients or trying to reach different sponsors and CROs, we can definitely put together some great content to get your story across. That also includes branding ads and graphics that are completely branded to your site. Also, we write blogs and create press releases that are pretty good. I mean, I would say that they're a lot more professional than maybe you would get somewhere else. And we can really brand it to the message that you want to get across. We also create email blasts, which can just really give you the opportunity to remarket to those patients or existing database that you may have, and really just build that brand and that story for your site. So if you are interested in getting some more information about what we do, we're definitely happy to answer any questions that you may have. If you even just have questions about storytelling, like I'm happy to answer any questions or anything that you may just want to talk about a little bit more in depth.
Great. Well, thank you, Marina. I think that's the next thing, is to get some questions from everybody related to this particular subject matter. And just to speak to, the Image Bloom services again, obviously the branding services, we highly recommend that all of our clients incorporate those storytelling images, and that's something that we ask for, and we invite our clients to send us additional content that we can utilize for these humanizing stories and, of course, achievements that are happening at your site. It's a great complement to a professional message again. So it's kind of all inclusive, that we really want to incorporate everything into a package that helps get your site noticed over and above. Again, I love how you said there's thousands of other sites that you're competing with, and it's so true. If you're talking B2B, you're trying to get your message out to the sponsors and the CROs so you can hopefully be considered for studies, but locally for your community, that when people are thinking about clinical research, your name comes top of mind for those folks. And I think the storytelling aspect can really make a difference. So Michelle is helping to kind of run this webinar and moderate for us. Has anyone asked any questions?
Yeah, so if any of you have any other questions, feel free to send them in now. We have had a few come in as we've been talking. So the first one is, how have you seen adding more transparency to your site benefit them? And so one example that I have off the top of my head is just we worked with a client where one day their phones went down, they couldn't take calls, they couldn't schedule appointments, but yet they had that message on their social media platforms. They kept their patients up to date and engaged, and it kept them at the top of their mind. And when their systems came back online, they're ready to to get right back to it and get going. They never had any kind of lag situation there. Marina, what do you have any other examples off the top of your head?
Well, I think
Well-
transparency, sorry, did you have a thought? I
Well,
apologize.
no, I was just gonna say, I think transparency is just important in general. I think a lot of my clients, I do stress that they send in photos and real stories that happen at the site, and I think that that kind of just, it creates a sense of and I feel like I'm repeating myself, but like a human element. And I think that relaying that to your viewers is going to let them know that you are serious about what you do, that you are passionate about what you do, and that you are you're clinical researchers. I mean, that's really all I have to say about that. But Rick, did you have anything else?
Yeah, well, I think, transparency to me is like bringing realism to the table. Whenever you're doing a professional message, that's the sugar-coated version of who you are. We're a great site. We do great work. Work with us. But when you bring that human element in there and you bring real stories to the table, there's a much better opportunity for people to identify with who you are and maybe even appreciate who you are on a whole different level. So that is, the transparency side of it is really getting underneath that sugar coating and exposing who you are. And that's what I think really grabs more attention than anything.
I agree.
Awesome. So then the next question is, how do you decide which platform is best for you?
I think you can't go wrong. Put it on all the platforms. If you're celebrating someone's birthday, if you're celebrating an achievement, success on a study, if you want to talk about a plumbing issue, although we don't recommend it, I mean, put it on every channel. These are not messages that necessarily have to be targeted. They're messages that anyone and everyone can read. The good news is that they can typically be organic. You're not trying to promote them. You're not having to put dollars behind them. They tend to get a lot more engagement and views because of their content already. So I wouldn't be shy. If you have a Facebook page, if you have an Instagram, Twitter, LinkedIn, if you have something that you want to share with the community, with the world, put it on all the channels.
Awesome. And so this next question kind of goes along with that. They're just asking what the primary social media platforms are that we use for clinical trial clients. So I assume that would mean sponsors and CROs?
Well, I think it just depends on who you're targeting. If you're wanting to target more of the sponsor CROs audience, then we would primarily use LinkedIn and Twitter, as well as email marketing and blogging and press releases. So I think those would be primarily the main outlets that we use for that type of audience.
Okay. Yeah, I definitely agree with that. So this next question is, how often should you interact with your audience?
I don't think you can do it too much. Maybe you could, but because these are organic posts and you're telling stories, I think it really is the engagement that drives how many impressions you get and how many people see it. So if it's something that people are interested in, it'll tend to make its way through the digital channels just because it's a good story. And so once a day, twice a day, I doubt most people have the bandwidth to be able to support that sort of repetition, but I seriously doubt you could post too much in this type of category as it relates to storytelling.
Okay. And so this next question ties in with the previous question. It just came in. So the original question was, what are the primary social media platforms for clients? And so now, what are the primary social media platforms for patients?
I would say the primary platforms for patients would be Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. You could probably even go to TikTok for some of those. I've seen a lot of clinical research videos on TikTok, so I think that's an up and coming outlet. But yeah, definitely those are really great platforms to get your message across to patients, and you can even do set up different call to actions. So a direct message button or an IM button, and those will send directly to whoever's managing your social media.
But I always like to say that those are just words: Facebook, Instagram, TikTok. Really knowing how to leverage those platforms, how to place an ad, how to gate an ad, how to target an ad. These are things that do require some knowledge, some experience. And so just saying Facebook, of course, if we're talking organic posting, that's pretty easy. But if you're talking about some of the more advanced abilities to really promote a message and reach an audience, that's where oftentimes having some professional or at least experienced knowledge is very helpful to get the right kind of results on those platforms.
Great. Awesome. Yeah. So going along with the social media questions, so if you miss live posting something, do you recommend still posting about it afterwards?
Absolutely. Yeah, I think as often as you can, as Rick mentioned earlier, getting your message across, even if it is a live video that you may have or post that you may have missed, it's never a bad thing to share that more than once.
Okay. Yeah, I definitely agree with that. So this looks like it might be the last question. If anyone else has any, feel free to send them our way. But so how much does our typical package cost? And then does the package include the same thing for every client?
Yeah, so it is tailored to each and every client. We work with large site networks all the way down to startups. Where I'm thinking of one right now that's a startup site, and we're helping them get going. And so obviously budgets can vary, needs can vary. So throwing numbers out there, I think maybe not is appropriate for a wide audience, but certainly that would be something we'd love to chat with you about, what your goals are, what you're trying to accomplish. And we can talk about different really tiers and budgets that you can look at. We do like to do comprehensive campaigns, so because you're going to get more return for your investment, having a multifaceted strategy. But again, if there's a limitation in the budget that's available, we can most likely put together a package for you that makes sense and will help you grow. And as you grow, you can always add to that budget.
Awesome. Cool. So it looks like that is the last of our questions. So did you guys have any final statements, closing statements?
I just want to say thank you so much for joining us again. Please let me know if you do have any other questions. Feel free to reach out to me. My email is marina@imagebloom.com. Feel free to give us a call if you do want to just discuss more on what your story is, how to identify that, and also how to tell your story, because that's what we're here for. We're here to help. So thank you again.
Thank you, Marina. Thank you, Michelle, for putting us on today. We really enjoy the opportunity to talk, and we're really enjoying the Clinical Research Java series. Hope you are as well. We hope to see you at the next one. Reach out to us anytime if you'd like to talk about your strategy and how Image Bloom can possibly help. But thank you again. Great job, y'all.
Thank you.